This is yet another MBA’10, a podcast featuring conversations with the greatest of all time MBA alumni from the Naveen Jindal School of Management at the University of Texas at Dallas. We're here to celebrate the outcomes of graduate management education and to identify remarkable examples of how the MBA program here at the Jindal School has transformed the lives of our alumni. Now, here's Dr. Monica Powell, Senior Associate Dean and Graduate Dean at the Jindal School. Take it away, Monica.
Well, hello there. Folks out in podcast land, I am so excited about the guest we have today on the podcast. It is my pleasure to welcome Rebecca Brooks. She brings the most amazing story of once being a truck driver to now being a senior analytics leader for McKesson. So welcome, Rebecca.
Thanks for having me.
Does it seem odd to come back into the Jindal School? I mean, you're here pretty regularly as an alum.
Yeah, I'm part of the local Dallas chapter of internal auditors, and they love to have meetings here. So it feels like I'm here a lot anyway.
So you don't object with the university's growth and the school's growth and aren't too challenged by the parking lot?
Well, it's nice to have coupons, so that makes it easier.
That helps helps the cause. I'm so glad that you brought up the auditor in you. I think it's really fascinating that if I remember correctly, before you became an MBA student, you were an artist, photographer, sculptor,
yes,
truck driver?
Yes, all of those things.
Okay, and if I also remember correctly, you did your undergraduate degree at TWU in fine art, right?
Yes, yeah.
So how does one who comes with that type of background soon develop the desire to obtain, complete, and use an MBA in the most amazing way that you have? We haven't even talked about where you are today, but can you talk a little bit about how you thought about getting an MBA as an option to transition who you were or thought you were at that time?
Yeah. I was an art student and got my bachelor's of fine art in sculpture, photography, mostly sculpture, so metalworking and that kind of stuff, woodworking, and I couldn't find an art gig, but I'd been working at Starbucks throughout my undergrad, and so stayed on there. Was going to go through their management training program. They were wanting me to go through it already, and I said, I'm going to graduate first, and then maybe. And so when I graduated and had to put my money where my mouth was, I started through that. That was in 2008, right around the time that they closed 600 stores in Texas and did not need additional managers or assistant managers for the store. And so I was, going to be stuck in this job for a while. And so I decided to quit and become a truck driver.
Wow.
So which actually I'd always wanted to, since I was a little kid, I thought, big rigs were really great and wanted to try it. And so I did.
So how long did you drive the truck?
Oh, it would have been just under a year.
Wow. I think there's another great podcast in that background right there. But today, I think our audience will just be amazed, enthralled, and standing in awe of the fact that you're at McKesson Corporation, that you are the data analytics senior manager, which means you are driving how they're using analytics in an auditing capacity at McKesson, because you went on to do several internal audit jobs when you graduated. And you graduated in December of 10, right?
Right, yeah.
So whoa, I mean, you totally redefined who you were. I mean, you took a background that isn't typically thought of as a pre-background to an MBA, and you harvested into this amazing analytics trajectory with an emphasis in auditing. So let me ask you a question. So you, during your MBA program, you got hooked into the auditing concentration in the MBA program. Now, that's an interesting transition from being somebody who thinks like an artist and tends to think about solving artistic problems. It sounds like you transitioned solving artistic problems into maybe solving auditing problems. So when you made that transition and you found auditing, then how did you use that to progress your career?
So I've always said that I've been too analytical for my artist friends and too artistic for my analyst friends. So actually, internal auditing is the perfect in between, because even though auditors get a bad rep for having, being boring, number crunching, introverts. In fact, a lot of what internal auditing does is, what it involves good communication skills, working with other people, getting them to tell you what's going on, what's wrong in their process, and so you can, help them improve it. And so my impression of internal auditors was the same as most people's, which, so when one of my classmates said, "Hey, do you want to come to the student club?" I was like, hard pass. I don't think that sounds right for me. But the more that he talked about it, the more I was like, you know what, that actually does sound like just what I want to do. Help organizations solve problems and, learn a little bit about a lot of things, but never, master, what was it? Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it sounds like you really found your home in using your pre-prescribed artistic thinking and then applied it in an auditing way. And I understand that at McKesson, they've kind of charged you with the task of trying to use analytics in an auditing way. And is that something McKesson has done before? Is that something that industry in general is already starting to do? And then how do you lead that effort inside of McKesson?
Sure. I'll start with the industry question first. And data analytics, data science, data visualization, they've been trending, I think, for, probably the past decade, but that's been the trend in the industry. McKesson recently, as a company, has started to invest, maybe in the last 4 years or so, started to invest more in data analytics and data science. So that, because it's an enormous corporation. For those who don't know McKesson, it's a Fortune 6 company. I call it the biggest company no one's ever heard of, because it's mostly B2B. But the next time you go to the doctor's office, you'll see our tongue depressors and gloves, because we distribute medical supplies and pharmaceuticals. And with that in mind, it's a very data-rich company. So McKesson collects data. We have a lot of data. And so that's why they started to invest in it. Well, kind of separate from McKesson as a company, the internal audit department had some fits and starts trying to build the auditing analytics capability. And it's actually something that the auditing profession is struggling with too, because typically the skill set that you hire for with an internal audit is accounting background or business background, not as much on the technical background. And so I think that's it's been one of the reasons that the auditing profession has struggled with it. And at McKesson, they were no exception. So my VP, my vice president, when she got the vice president role, said, I want to change this and actually dedicate somebody to building our capability. It was always people's part-time job, where, go and do your auditing, and then on top of that, see if you can work in some data analytics. Since she had the foresight to say, this is not feasible in the long run. We need to actually have somebody have this be their full-time job. I'd expressed to her in the months prior that I was interested in doing more with data analytics, that I was interested in learning more about data science, which is the, machine learning and artificial intelligence, all that fancy stuff. And so McKesson had a program, a data science program, where they took McKesson employees who knew the business, who knew the data, and then taught them the data science. And so after I went through that program and she was put her strategy together for this, she asked me to be the data science senior manager, and made that my full-time job is to build our capability in that regard.
Whoa, that is an amazing story. You said one thing in there that just made my ears just like stand up or get pointed or something. But you said that you raised your hand. And so typically artists and those that come out of the fine arts world, they're people that are very connected to their brain and what's going on. And there's this stereotypical idea that they're introverted and they are incredibly introspective. So in the MBA program, it sounds like we helped you develop some of those interpersonal skills that gave you the confidence to actually raise your hand and say, I want to do this. So can you talk a little bit about just kind of that professional development growth in the program and how that really changed the artist into the auditor, into the analytics kind of guru?
Yeah. So I think the biggest part of it is the vocabulary. I mean, nobody will take you seriously if you don't talk the talk. If you can't participate in a business meeting, it's okay if you don't know everything, but if you don't know a debit from a credit or mergers and acquisitions,
can't read the balance sheet.
Yeah, can't read the balance sheet, all of that stuff, then you'll be easily dismissed in that conversation. And so one of the biggest things was just the knowledge, the business knowledge. The other aspect that I really got a lot out of the program was because it was a cohort. I had the same classes with the same group of 40 other students, the core classes anyway, and I got to know those people. So it gave me the confidence to we're all learning together. And so I knew nobody knew everything, but I knew the right questions to ask. I knew that I had people I could reach out to during the program and then even afterwards if I had questions, people who had a different focus, maybe marketing or supply chain. And I could always say, hey, does this sound right to you? Or I'm going to go and talk to the so-and-so in supply chain, and I don't want to sound like a buffoon.
Well, I would say that you conquered that monster. And being in the role that you're in now, it sounds like you've earned every bit of the respect of the organization and created an opportunity for yourself to really grow your career. And I'd like to think that the MBA program played a big part in making that happen.
This episode is brought to you by the UT Dallas MBA program, top ranked nationally and in Texas. The UT Dallas MBA combines a robust core with 13 concentrations. You have an option to add a second master's degree, and your choices for that include 5 STEM-designated programs. The MBA program has full-time, part-time, online, and other formats. They give you flexibility to fit your MBA education into your busy schedule. The skills and training you will receive are what top employers are looking for. For more information, visit us online at jindal.utdallas.edu/MBA.
When you were a student, every time, and I know you graduated in December of 10, it's pretty amazing what you've been able to do and what you were able to take advantage of while you were a student. Every time we asked students to volunteer, Rebecca raised her hand. Your class did a big project with the KIPP Academy. So can you talk a little bit about the dynamics of the culture inside of the MBA program? And while it was all focused on learning and growing your career and improving your outcomes, that there was a sense of community and connectedness, a sense of belonging to the program?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the MBA programs have a heavy reputation, and some MBA programs anyway have a reputation for being cutthroat, where everybody's competing for the top grade. This is not that kind of program. And one of the very first things that we did as a cohort group was elect officers for various areas like community service, social interaction with each other.
That was the party chairperson.
Yes, that was the party chairperson, exactly. They were very successful. And so I volunteered for the community service aspect of it because that's been important to me. And we worked with some kids in a charter school program called KIPP Truth, and the goal of that charter school was to take kids that were underperforming, have them work extra hard, and then get them into higher performing high schools and eventually into college. That was their overall goal. And I thought that we had a talented group of students, MBA students, that could help them with some interview skills and other kind of business type skills that would help them give them a little bit of additional polish when they were going into those high school interviews. And so we organized a service day where the students came to campus. They got to tour all of the neat things, including the motion capture lab. And then we did some kind of team building activities, and later in the year did some interview prep sessions with them.
Oh, that sounds like that was a whole lot of fun. So if you were going to talk to those prospects that are out there that are listening to us today and thinking about, I think an MBA is a good investment. I'm not sure if I can make it turn into something amazing. You've done that, Rebecca. You're a good example of making that happen with a non-traditional background. But what argument would you make to someone that an MBA is really worth that investment, either in a full-time capacity like you did, stepping out of a job market and going full-time, or even in a part-time or online capacity? How is the MBA still relevant today for you personally, for you inside of McKesson, and just in general?
I think that's a really good question. And I think if somebody, who's listening or somebody that I know asked me, is it worth it? Should I go get an MBA? What should I do? It's really kind of a personal decision, because are you the kind of person that wants to become a leader in an organization? Do you have strong opinions and do you already have a strategic kind of mindset where you wouldn't be happy doing the same thing over and over again? If that's the case, then I think the MBA would be the better way to go. But it isn't for everybody, because there are some folks that would rather, I want to do my job. I want to close the books every month and know exactly what I'm going to be doing the next quarter and the next quarter after that. And for those people, I would say, well, probably MBA is not the best.
But maybe an MS in a specific function might be a good deep dive for them to go in. It's really interesting, because I think there is a little bit of a struggle in the marketplace for people to decide if it's worth that investment. And I think because the MBA did get a historical bad rap 10 years ago, I think that is, and people do have options. I think people look at it differently. So, Rebecca, if you look back, what are your fondest memories of the program? I know there was a lot of stress and a lot of late night studying, but if you look back, what really makes you smile and what really gives you joy?
I mean, that's easy. That's my classmates. And it was a fantastic group of students. It was, even though it was stressful, we were all there to help each other. And so the late nights, it was late nights with people that I enjoyed spending late nights with. And in fact, this weekend, I'm going to be spending some more time with some former classmates. So one of Gabby Goodman is coming into town.
Awesome.
And so we're
She's
all going to
terrific.
Yeah, she's great. You should see if you can sneak her into this. She's coming in on Thursday.
Yeah, got to go. Let's go after Gabby.
But she's coming into town, and so we're going to get together. It's the relationships that I made during the program were probably the best part of the program. In fact, Alex Wise was the one who got me the job at McKesson. He put in my resume in and got me the interview. So
that's what it's about. It's really about gaining a whole bunch of knowledge, getting lifelong friends, and an incredible network that pays dividends the rest of your life.
Exactly.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. If you had a favorite memory of a professor.
I had a lot of good memories of the classes. I mean, I really stretched your brain and made you think in some areas, especially like Charlie Hazard. We always enjoyed his class. Ramrao. Marketing
professor. Both of these professors you've mentioned are still here at the Jindal School.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rao's marketing class is probably the most fun, where we got to do some case studies, real companies that in the past where we can dig in and say, here's all the mistakes they made and what they should have done differently.
It's great to learn from everybody else's failure, isn't it?
It is.
Nothing wrong with that at all. Well, terrific. It has just been a delight to have you back in the school. It seems like yesterday you were a student here, and I love hearing that you're connected to your classmates. We tell students all the time when they come in for orientation that this is kind of your last opportunity to make really good lifelong friends, people that will help you when you're looking for a job, people that will be there when you're having a family crisis, that it's not just about the degree, it's also about the association with remarkable people, remarkable faculty in a remarkable place doing really remarkable things. So I'm glad to see that you've been a wonderful recipient of that, and we're just so incredibly proud of you. I mean, you made an internal audit career happen for yourself. You have gone on from JCPenney's to McKesson and had 3 promotions. And, we tell our prospects all the time that if you want the knowledge, you want the understanding, you want the communications and the confidence, come be a part of this journey, and then you own the potential outcomes, as opposed to having to, give that up to somebody else. You get to own your journey, and we're really proud of you, Rebecca, and we thank you for coming to be a part of the GOAT.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you taking the time, and appreciate you inviting me too.
Well, terrific. Thanks so much. We will be in touch again soon.
Okay.
Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. I hope that you were inspired by the words you heard from one of our greatest of all time MBA GOATs. If you were inspired to think about getting an MBA degree, I hope that you'll be in touch with us. Give us a call, drop us an email, hop on our website, be in touch with us so that we can help you make a difference in your future. We look forward to hearing from you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of yet another MBA GOAT podcast. Join us online at MBA.GOAT.com to find episode notes, links, and more. Be sure to subscribe to yet another MBA GOAT podcast on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcasting app. If you like what you hear, please leave us a 5-star review. That will help spread the word about the podcast and the Jindal School's MBA programs. To learn more about the Jindal School's MBA programs, go to jindal.utdallas.edu/MBA.